about the history of white folks abusing the continent of Africa. We know about the Berlin Conference, where literally they got together and split up Africa and said, well, who's going to take different parts? We know about King Leopold killing more people. Let me be very clear, killing more people in the Congo than Hitler killed Jews in Europe. We can go on and on and on how the French, how the British, how the United States, all of these countries raped and pillaged the continent of Africa. Now we have the caucasity of Erik Prince, the founder of Blackwater, the largest private military company in the world. He actually said this in a recent interview.
All this talk of illegal migration in Europe, in the United States, it ultimately comes down to a contest of what is governance. Who is governed? Which countries are governed well? And if so many of these countries around the world are incapable of governing themselves, then it's time for us to just put the imperial hat back on to say, we're going to govern those countries if you're incapable of governing yourselves, because enough is enough. We're done being invaded.
Because our own national security risk is at stake.
Exactly.
National security interests are at stake.
You can say that about pretty much all of Africa. They're incapable of governing themselves and benefiting their citizens because the governments there are all about looting and pillaging and lining their pockets and going shopping in Paris instead of actually making their country better.
People on the
land.
left are going to watch this. They're going to say, wait a minute, Erik Prince is talking about being a colonialist again.
Absolutely. Yes. Enough. Because if you go to these countries and you see how they suffer under absolutely corrupt, made-up governments that are just criminal syndicates, the people of Africa, the people of Latin America, a lot of them deserve better. Now, some countries are really getting it together. Look at what El Salvador did. Bukele, murder capital of Latin America, he said, no more. Now El Salvador is safer than Prince William County. And he took just south of Washington, D.C. He put all the MS-13 guys in prison. Ecuador, about to do the same thing. New president there. The previous presidential candidate had been assassinated. But new guy gets elected. He announces he's contracted with the same building contractor that they built the prisons in El Salvador, going to build them in Ecuador. The prisoners there, the cartels revolt and try to take over the capital in Ecuador a couple weeks ago. So it's not all bad. There's some great governance. I like at Argentina. God bless Milei. I mean, yes. So, but the countries that cannot fix themselves, particularly in Africa, the worst, it's time to think about other governance options because they are clearly not capable of self-government.
The countries in Africa that cannot fix themselves. See, that's quite interesting that you would hear Erik Prince say those things because, and y'all do know that his sister is Betsy DeVos, who served as the education secretary under Donald Trump. This shows that she's an idiot and her brother's an idiot because they don't know anything about American history. In fact, I'm going to use one particular country y'all heard me just mention, the Congo. There's a book, great conversation. Go to the Black Table discussion with Dr. Greg Carr on the Black Star Network, and he had a phenomenal conversation with Stuart Reed. Stuart Reed is the author of this book. This book is called The Lumumba Plot, The Secret History of the CIA and a Cold War Assassination. Stuart Reed details in this book that Lumumba came to the United States and during one of his visits after he became prime minister. And in a particular meeting, President Dwight Eisenhower gave the order to assassinate Lumumba, to take him out. It is documented by some that this was the first time in American history where a president gave a direct order to take out a foreign leader. I don't believe that's the case, though. So here they are. They get their independence from Belgium. 2 months in, the CIA and others work to kill Lumumba. Here you murder, you align with his opponents, you kill him, the country goes into chaos, leads to Mobutu becoming a dictator. Let me say it again. We helped put a dictator in office, and that country is still trying to gain its footing since it got its independence. What would the Congo look like today had the United States not aligned with others to take out Patrice Lumumba in the Congo? Let's go on to some other countries. Folks in the control room, pull up a book called Overthrow. Folks, the author is Stephen Kinzer. And I'll see if I can pull it up myself. Stephen Kinzer, longtime New York Times writer. He wrote a particular book that all of you need to read, and it's called Overthrow. The book details the 13 examples where the United States directly overthrew other governments. Oh, y'all don't hear me. Y'all don't hear me. 13 different times the United States actually overthrew other governments. Yeah. What I'm saying is absolutely correct. So here we are talking, here's Erik Prince talking about these other countries and how they now have all of these problems, and we must take these countries over in order to get them under control because these people can't govern themselves. Yet we, the United States, play a role in making this happen. This is the book right here, Overthrow: America's Century of Regime Change from Hawaii to Iraq. We can detail what took place in Libya. We can talk about what happened in Guatemala. Are y'all aware? Kinzer writes it in his book that the Panama Canal originally was not supposed to go through Panama. That was supposed to go through another country. But the United States told that country, oh, in order for you to finance the canal, you have got to use American banks. The country said, no, we're good. We got a better deal with European banks. So the United States, aligned with a PR company, created this entire story that was a lie, that there was a particular volcano in this country that hadn't erupted in centuries, somehow could erupt, and that will destroy the canal. That's how it was built in a canal. In fact, let me just go ahead and stay on Panama. Noriega was running drugs in Panama. Guess who payroll Noriega was on? The CIA's. Come on. Do y'all even know where the phrase banana republic comes from? The phrase banana republic comes from United States and other countries overthrowing governments because the plantation owners control the land. They control the country. So the phrase a banana republic comes from, again, the overthrow of governments, the overthrow of governments to aid economics. Let's not talk about Chile. Kinzer details that ITT, one of the first global companies, called the CIA and said, hey, we'll pay for y'all to overthrow Chile. They said, hold up now, we ain't really down for that yet. So they told ITT, thanks, but no thanks. They then came back a couple of years later when Allende became the president. Allende said, wait a minute. why are we sitting here, all these other companies controlling telecommunications, controlling all of our economics? Allende says, we're going to nationalize this. American, oh, hell no. Whoa, hold up. You talking about you going to nationalize all this stuff? That means these American companies not going to keep making all this money? No, hell no. Guess what we did? Call ITT. We overthrow Chile. Got rid of Allende. Put in Pinochet, who killed millions of folks. America did that. I'm sorry. Why were the Iranians so pissed off at us in 1979? The story that we've all been told, the Iranians, the Ayatollah, Khomeini, the crazy rabbit Muslims, they took over the country, want to destroy our freedoms. See, you can't talk about 1979 and the hostage crisis if you skip over 1953, 26 years earlier. And now you might say, well, Roland, okay, what happened 26 years earlier? Well, there was a democratically elected prime minister. His name was Mossadegh. Mossadegh said, I don't understand. How is all of this oil ours? And we only get like 5 to 7% of the money. Why is British Anglo-Iranian oil, now known as BP, how are they taking all the money? So Mossadegh said, no, we keeping our oil to rebuild our country. The British said, oh, hell no, you not. Because y'all got to understand, the British economy had been taken. All of that Iranian oil was paying for the British economy. They said, no, you not. Oh, no, you not. But see, the British, y'all, the British wasn't trying to go as far as overthrowing the government in Iran. The United States went, we'll do it. We got y'all. So the United States began to distribute flyers in the country, pushing out misinformation in Iran against Mossadegh. Took out Mossadegh, put in a general. The general wouldn't do what America said. We then took the general out, and we then said, here's the Shah. So we put in the Shah of Iran. Put the Shah of Iran in. Then we, our CIA, trained the Shah's thugs. So the Shah's thugs that were beating down on people all across the country, put them in place. Now do the math. If you were 18 years old in 1953, by the way, Iran loved America. Iran loved America. After this, Iran hated America. So you 18 years old in 1953. You 10 years old in 1953. Well, 26 years later, you 36. You 44. So the uprising in 79 can be traced back to 1953. Chavez, when he became president of Venezuela, oh, hell no. Don't you dare nationalize the oil company called Citgo. You ain't doing that. Don't you do that. Y'all, we could run through a list of South American countries. I ain't even mentioned us wanting to take over Cuba. We can run through South American countries, Latin American countries. We can run through African countries. We can go through the Middle East, and we will show. Y'all heard in the thing, he said, America's national interests. We, the United States. See, this is the stuff they never wanted to teach us in school. One of the reasons why you have instability all over the country is because you had the United States, John Foster Dulles, Allen Dulles. Yeah, Dulles Airport, named after one of them. They were the ones, Secretary of State, running the CIA, and that was American foreign policy. Take your pick. Nicaragua, Guatemala, Panama, Venezuela, Mexico, on and on and on. So all of the countries that Erik Prince is now saying they can't run their country, it's because we, along with the French and the British, destabilized those countries, destabilized the leadership by taking the leadership out, paid for overthrows and coups in those countries, and now we trying to say, I don't know how y'all don't know how to act. I don't know how y'all don't know how to run your own country when we the ones who actually created the very destabilization that we're talking about today. And last point, we then took the resources, or we put the clamps on the countries by using economics. Any of y'all read that book, The Diary of an Economic Hitman? How we sat here and saddled many of these countries after they got their freedom with enormous amounts of debt, took over their ports, took control of their treasury and their banks, and now saddle them with massive debt they can't never repay. Country gets mad, inflation high, food prices high, gas prices high, wages low, creates dissension in the country, and now the people in the country are constantly fighting because of the economics, and we are the ones who actually made it happen. In this very short time, I've laid out to you what American foreign policy was for most of the 20th century. And here you have this thug, Erik Prince, who wants to blame the very people for their problems when he does not want to hold accountability for the real culprits of the instability, and that has been the West. Michael Imhotep. You're on mute. There you go. There you go. You're on. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, you laid out an extensive history dealing with the U.S. and other foreign powers being involved in overthrowing governments of African nations, Latin American nations. Guatemala comes to mind, 1954. CIA overthrew the democratically elected president to protect the interests of the United Fruit Company. And they were afraid that the fruit company would lose land. You talked about the Congo, Patrice Lumumba, CIA 1961. We can look at Libya as well, when you have the U.S., France, and Great Britain, when President Barack Obama was in office. You had Muammar Gaddafi assassinated, and then it caused instability, even though there were problems in Libya, but it got much worse. There were some good things in Libya as well. It got much worse after he was assassinated. You talked about the Berlin Conference, 1884, 1885, and the country that probably got the most from the Berlin Conference was Great Britain. And a lot of this history came out when Queen Elizabeth II died. And it was talked about how much land and how much wealth Great Britain got because of the Berlin Conference. So what we're looking at is a history of colonialism, instability. We could look at the conquering by Spain of various countries, whether it's Cuba, whether it's Puerto Rico, whether it's Argentina, et cetera, and then the continuation of this colonization. So Erik Prince is operating in the tradition of a long line of colonizers, going back to Christopher Columbus, okay, who colonized Hispaniola, where Haiti is, who colonized Puerto Rico and Honduras and Panama, Jamaica. A lot of these places where we like to go on vacations were conquered by Spain, and African slaves were taken in, and plantations are set up, and European nations are enriched off the back of African people and Latinos, et cetera. So, you know, there should be more done to expose what he's talking about. And I guarantee you, if Trump gets in office, we want to make sure this doesn't happen if Biden's reelected, number one. But two, if Trump gets in office, I guarantee you Trump is going to try to execute what Erik Prince is talking about.
If you go to my iPad here, you see it was called, Kelly, the Scramble for Africa.
Yes.
And it's where the European Conference, again, the Berlin Conference, 1884 to 1885, where they literally split up the countries. In fact, people don't even realize Nigeria was never a country. They literally created Nigeria. I'm going to pull up in a second that particular history as well. Before I go to Kelly, I did an interview with General Colin Powell, the late General Colin Powell. And I specifically asked him the question that speaks to this very issue. Play it.
That's what's happening in the Middle East, because I'm talking about leadership. We weren't alive when this country was founded, and there's difficult struggles. And it's bothering me that Americans don't understand that this is what happens in new democracies, where you have this struggle, this fight for leadership. And so your assessment of what's happening right now, I mean, isn't that really what's going on? They're trying to they'll find their way.
What's happening right now in the Middle East, and it's sort of reflective of our own democracy. It wasn't easy. You don't just pick up a book and learn how to do democracy. You have to practice it. You have to exercise it. And so when some of these autocratic leaders left in Egypt and Tunisia, Libya, and places like that, there's no democracy just ready to spring up. You got to grow it. And you grow it by people believing in their country, by people respecting the new leadership, by different sections of the country coming together and not fight over the spoils. And above all, by creating institutions of democracy, how to vote, law, corporate law so you can protect the economy, civil rights that are protected, a free press, the end of corruption. Those are the seeds of democracy. So don't be shocked that we're having this kind of difficulty in the Arab Spring countries, because they have to learn how to be Democrats and small d. They have to learn how to govern themselves. And America has an important role to play in helping them learn. We can't do it for them. They don't want us to do it for them. But they want us to help. Just kind of let us figure it out. You be there to help us when we need your help.
Kelly?
Powell. And he's absolutely right. But also going back specifically to Erik Prince's comments, which alluded to the incorrect notion that America is perfect, that if only America would step in and take over and, do what we do, everything will be okay. And I come back to this question: what are you trying to mimic over there? Because we are by no means perfect. In fact, the things that we have put onto other countries to do, being democracy, being voting rights, being civil rights, being human rights, we barely have that at home now. So how exactly are you to teach someone else when you don't even know how to apply it to your own governments here correctly anyway? And I'm not saying that we are as bad as, other countries that are in the baby stages of building their own democracies. But look around us right now as we are preparing for an election. Our voting rights have been gutted. We have virtually, or we are very close to virtually having no human rights as women in regards to controlling our own bodies. The list goes on. So it's not just the absurdity of the notion of America should just step in and recolonize. It's the hypocrisy that America is good enough to do that anyway.
Is simple. Erik Prince wants to plunder and control these countries the same way previous white colonists did?
I don't know if that was for me.
That's for you. That's for you. That's for you.
Okay, thank you. I didn't hear it, but
yeah. I said Matt. Go ahead.
I first have to laud you, Roland, because I think that was a masterclass in history that's necessary for the context. And all I'll add is really kind of three things. First, this is not localized just to foreign policy. This is the exact playbook that we see in the domestic side when you have disinvestment of communities, you have plundering of communities, and then once a city or municipality determines that that community is now advantageous politically, which we've seen across the country, they go in and steal the land and they vilify the people who are living there, despite having underinvested and destabilized the community through disinvestment. So the first thing is that, there are corollaries on the domestic end, which we see primarily in our Black and brown communities across this country. But the second thing is, there's a lot of subterfuge here, because not only is it paternalistic, right, and acting like these countries, one, don't have the sovereignty and the autonomy to govern themselves, but the reality is there's a race. It's a land grab. We know that the Chinese are paying or buying 1/5 of sub-Saharan African exports and are investing in Africa incredibly as they are in Latin America. And I think the reality of it is some of it is a subterfuge to do exactly what you said, the perfect word, plunder, to go in and to try to find a way to get the reins over these governments and then take those natural resources the way it's been done since time immemorial. And the third point I wanted to mention is I actually happen to be reading right now The Colonizer and the Colonized by Albert Memmi. And if you read this book, which is about the colonization of Tunisia and Algeria in the 1950s, he outlines exactly what the European powers did in terms of destabilization, and not only destabilization, the psychological elements that they used on those they were colonizing to try to make them aspire to assimilation and also hate themselves, to create that tension so that they can go in and take those resources and plunder. So that's all it is. It's a monetary thing. It's a land grab, and it's couched in this, we have to help them because they can't help themselves, despite the fact that the things they're allegedly unable to help themselves from are direct consequences of repeated and concerted efforts to destabilize and plunder. So we're seeing the byproduct of that and the recontinuation of that through the paternalism to act as though they can't govern themselves, despite having the sovereignty and autonomy to do so.
You see, folks, this is why what we have to do is what I have called the education beyond the education. There's the formal education, there's the informal education. And so I was pulling up here, and so a phenomenal book of Stephen Kendrick. Go to my iPad. I read this book here. It's called All the Shah's Men, An American Coup and the Roots of Middle East Terror. An unbelievable book for you to begin to understand what happened in Iran and why these countries in the Middle East feel the way they do about the United States today. This other book, boom, Bitter Fruit, the untold story of the American coup in Guatemala. Same thing. You see right here, it says right here, though the events in Bitter Fruit happened almost 28 years ago, there's an intriguing similarity to some of the phrase making of the State Department in Central America today. It is a tale of dirty tricks, the manipulation of public opinion, the smearing of the precious few journalists who managed to dissense what was really going on, and a foreign policy that borrowed more from Doonesbury than diplomacy. It is a fast-paced and well-documented history, a thoughtful and compelling book. I just want y'all to understand that these things are real. We can't act like these things, simply did not happen. I told you about the Dulles brothers. They controlled American foreign policy. They were the ones who led the Bay of Pigs, and it was Kennedy who fired them. This book here is also a stunning one. The brothers, John Foster Dulles, Allen Dulles, and their secret world war. It details, again, John Foster Dulles was Secretary of State. His brother was Director of the Central Intelligence, where they literally were sitting here plotting and overthrowing numerous countries. All I'm trying to say, folks, is that when you listen to people like Erik Prince, he wants to be them. They want to dominate these countries. They want to control their resources. They want to control their money. That's what's going on here. And we better understand and not just go, oh, that guy's talking crazy. No, it's not. Not when he has military contracts. I'm telling y'all, if you read this book and if you read Overthrow, go back to my go back to my iPad. Overthrow just blew me away. I'm telling y'all, you read this, you will begin to understand what happens today. The problem that we have in this country is that when we talk about today, we're not factoring in the last 50, 60, 70 years and more. We're not. So we're just like, oh, what's going on today? Nope. There are reasons why many of these countries have instability and have unstable leadership. And it's because in many of these cases, the United States of America played a role in destabilizing these countries. That is it for us. Michael, you got a class coming up real quick?
Yeah, Saturday, February 10th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my new 10-week online history course, Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, with what they didn't teach you in school. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register right now. You've never seen anything like this. It's going to totally blow you away. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com.
Folks, that's it for us. Michael, Kelly, Matt, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we also have the information right here in the thread of the broadcast. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, this is a new 10-week online history course that I teach. We're going to do an introduction today as soon as I finish here. And we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Okay, and this is over 200 slides that I put together. We have 80 to 100 articles that we reference. We have excerpts of interviews that I've done with many of our scholars over the years also that hits on different aspects of this history. Okay, we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. Okay, and just at our website, just click here, register here. In the class, I'll go over the lesson plan because I have a lesson plan laid out for all 10 classes, and we'll send you the lesson plan in the, so you can download it also. I'm trying to get the link straight on the website so you can actually look at the lesson plan there. But this is my life's work. I started teaching this class in 2007. It's taken 7 years to get the class, really develop it to where it is today. 80 to 100 articles, 15 books that we reference. You don't have to buy any of these books to follow along in class. Class is on sale $80, regularly $130. And we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. So even after the course is over with, you can go back and watch the entire course. Okay. So you don't lose access to it. I don't want to do that. I want you to be able to 2-3 years from now, be able to still access this class. All right. Also, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. Also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. So go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, scroll down, and we have the information here for the Cash App, PayPal. When you click on that, this is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN Show. SHOW. When you go to it, it says Michael. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. I'm still trying to get shut down because people have been stealing money from us. Okay. These are not ours. They're using our logo, all that stuff. I put the link here. You click on the link and it has our QR code here as well. Okay. All right. So look, I have to get out of here. We have the link for the class here in the thread of the broadcast. Also, register for the full class. That helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, please email me through the website or email me at ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com, ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com. And we can set that up either in person or virtually if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization. Listen to the African History Network show Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on our social media platforms. Visit our website for more information about that. And watch me on Fridays on Roland Martin Unfiltered, as well on the Black Star Network on Facebook, YouTube, Roland Martin, Facebook, YouTube. Download the Black Star Network app. Okay. Remember, right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll